Here we have the product sales data, which has been formatted as a table. One of the features of tables in Excel is total rows. I'm going to click inside the table, and from the Table Tools Design tab, I'm going to select Total Row. What this does is to add a total row to the worksheet, and you can see that the word total now appears here in the first column, and a total appears in the season total column here in column F. Notice that this has been created using a subtotal function. This totals the column of data above. If you didn't want this to be a total, you can click the drop-down list here and choose a different calculation. For example, you can turn off the calculation by selecting None, or you could select Average to use the subtotal function to calculate an average of the values above. You can also make calculations such as maximum and minimum. If you select Count, you'll count the number of filled cells in the range above. That won't include the heading cell, of course. If you were to select Count Numbers, then Excel will give you a count of the cells in the range above which contain numbers, and it will exclude any which are empty or contain text. In a future video, we'll be having a look at the subtotal function, and we'll see why it's useful and why it's being used here to calculate the sum. Let's look at another table. This is the table of data which contains our web page statistics. In the final column here is a running total. So when I click to add a total row to the table, what we're doing is totaling the running total. So this is a meaningless result. You would never add the values in a column of values that is a running total. In this case, we'll need to be careful to set the total here to none, so that we don't have meaningless data in our worksheet. We might, however, be interested in some other calculations here. For example, we may want to see the averages of each of these columns, so we can see the average page views, the average revenue per month, and the average return per 1,000 views for each month. Now in this case, we don't want to see the word total, we want to see the word average because that's the data that we're seeing in this row. Don't be tempted to click the word average here, because what you'd be doing is adding an average function and you're going to get an incorrect result. You'll see something like this. Instead, what we want to see is the word average, so we're just going to type it in. Always be aware that a total row might give you meaningless results, so you should look and make sure that the results that you're seeing make sense. If not, disable the calculation and only ever use calculations that are actually meaningful for the data that you're working on. And also be aware that the word total may not adequately describe what you're seeing. In our case here, we've selected average calculations, so it makes a lot better sense for us to have the word average here rather than total.